Ambassador Kim Tae-ho walked slowly through the long metal hallways of the Galactic Council Station. His black shoes made soft clicking sounds on the cold floor. He had been making this same walk for 15 years now. Every day he came to the big meeting room where hundreds of alien beings sat and talked about running the galaxy. Every day they treated him like he was nothing more than a child who should be grateful just to watch. The meeting room was huge. It could hold thousands of beings from different worlds. The ceiling was so high that Kim Tae-ho sometimes got dizzy looking up at it. Rows and rows of seats curved around a central speaking area. Each seat was designed for different types of alien bodies. Some were tall and thin. Some were short and wide. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Some hung from the ceiling like bats. Kim Tae-ho sat in the section marked for observer species. His chair was smaller than the others. It was painted, a dull gray color, while the full member seats were bright gold. Behind him sat Park Min-ho, his young assistant. Park Min-ho was only 30 years old, but he was already tired of watching his boss get treated badly every single day. His hands were always tight fists when they sat in these meetings. Captain Lee Da-bin stood at the back of the human section. She wore her Earth Defense Corps uniform with pride. The dark blue fabric had small metal badges that showed her rank and service record. She never sat down during meetings. She said it was because soldiers should always be ready. But Kim Tae-ho knew she stood because sitting in those observer chairs made her feel like giving up. The meeting started like it always did. Chancellor Vexithara walked to the center speaking area. She was from the Dominion species. Her people looked like tall gray birds with 4 arms and no feathers. She had been running these meetings for 20 years. In all that time, she had never once asked Kim Tae-ho for his opinion on anything important. Today we discuss trade routes through the Outer Rim sectors, Chancellor Vexithara said. Her voice came through a translation device that made it sound like metal scraping on metal. Several shipping companies have reported increased pirate attacks. We need better security patrols. Kim Tae-ho raised his hand. He had been trying to talk about this problem for 3 months. Human ships were some of the fastest and strongest in the galaxy. Earth had volunteer crews ready to help patrol those dangerous areas. But Chancellor Vexithara looked right past him like he was not even there. The hegemony of Kreltar has offered to provide security services, she continued. They want payment, of course, but their military ships are well known for being effective. Several council members made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws. Others flashed colored lights. A few released chemical smells that meant they were happy with the idea. Kim Tae-ho stood up. Chancellor Vexithara, he said in a loud, clear voice. Earth has ships that could patrol those areas for free. We have been offering this help for months. The Chancellor turned to look at him. Her big yellow eyes showed no emotion at all. The human representative will please remember that observer species do not speak during official discussions, she said. Your people may submit written requests through proper channels. We have submitted 47 written requests, Kim Tae-ho replied. None of them have received responses. That is because your requests are not suitable, Chancellor Vexithara said. Human ships are too aggressive. Your species has a history of violence. We cannot trust you with security duties. A wave of laughter rolled through the meeting room. It was not friendly laughter. The sounds came from hundreds of different types of throats and voice boxes. Some aliens hooted. Others made clicking sounds. A few released gas that smelled like rotten eggs when they found something funny. Park Min-ho's face turned red. His hands gripped the arms of his chair so tight that his knuckles went white. Captain Lee Da-bin took a step forward, but Kim Tae-ho held up his hand to stop her. The meeting continued for 4 more hours. The council talked about many things. They discussed new laws for mining rights. They argued about taxes on interstellar shipping. They made plans for building more space stations. Through all of this, Kim Tae-ho sat quietly and listened. His people were never asked for their thoughts on any subject. When lunchtime came, most of the aliens left to eat in the fancy dining halls. Kim Tae-ho always ate in the small cafeteria meant for support staff and observers. The food there was not as good. The tables were made of cheap plastic instead of real wood. But at least no one stared at him like he was some kind of dangerous animal. This is getting worse every year, Park Min-ho said while eating his sandwich. They used to at least pretend to listen to us. The Centauri Republic still supports us, Kim Tae-ho said. Ambassador Park Soo-jin always votes with Earth when she can. 1 vote out of 850, Captain Lee Dobbin said. That is not enough to change anything. After lunch, the real shock came. Chancellor Vexithera announced that Councillor Zephyrak from the Trade Federation wanted to make a special presentation. Zephyrak was shaped like a giant purple mushroom with dozens of small tentacles around his base. He moved by rolling across the floor like a wheel. Fellow council members, Zephyrak said through his translator, we must address the growing problem of human expansion. Their species reproduces too quickly. They build too many ships, they ask too many questions about our decisions. Kim Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. This was not about trade routes or mining rights. This was about his entire species. I propose we implement protective quarantine protocols around the Sol system, Zephyrak continued. No human ships would be allowed to leave their home system without special permits. This would protect the galaxy from their aggressive tendencies, while keeping them safe from influences they are not ready to handle. The room erupted in discussion. Hundreds of aliens talked at once in their various languages. The translation system could not keep up with all the different voices, but Kim Tae-ho could tell that most of them liked this idea. All in favor of Resolution 2847 regarding Sol system quarantine protocols, Chancellor Vexithera called out. Lights began flashing all around the room. Each species had their own way of voting. Some pressed buttons, others changed color. A few released different smells. Kim Tae-ho watched in horror as more and more lights showed support for the resolution. Motion passes, Chancellor Vexithera announced. 847 votes in favor, 3 votes against. Resolution 2847 is now galactic law. Kim Tae-ho looked around the room. Only the Centauri delegation and 2 small species from the far rim had voted against trapping humanity in their own star system. Everyone else wanted to put his people in a cage. He stood up slowly. His chair made a loud scraping sound as he pushed it back. The entire room went quiet. For 15 years he had followed their rules. He had been polite and respectful even when they treated him like dirt. He had submitted written requests and waited for responses that never came. He had watched them ignore every offer of help his people made. Counselors, he said. His voice was calm and clear. It carried to every corner of the huge room. The United Earth government has given me a message to deliver. Chancellor Vexithera looked annoyed. The human observer will please wait for permission to speak, she said. Kim Tae-ho ignored her. We withdraw from all dialogue with the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We reject any authority you claim over human space or human affairs. The room filled with laughter again. But this time it sounded nervous. Something in Kim Tae-ho's voice made them uncomfortable. Our ships will leave this station within 1 hour, he continued. Any vessel that enters the Sol system will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. He gathered his papers and tablet computer. Park Min-ho and Captain Lee Dobbin stood up beside him. The 3 humans walked toward the exit, while hundreds of aliens watched. The human species thanks the Galactic Council for this valuable lesson in diplomacy, Kim Tae-ho said as he reached the door. We will not forget it. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the meeting room, the laughter slowly died away. Chancellor Vexithera looked around at the other council members. For the first time in 20 years, she was not sure what to do next. 3 months had passed since the humans left the Galactic Council station. Counselor Murdoch stood in his intelligence office looking at reports that made no sense. The walls around him were covered with screens, showing information from across the galaxy. Each screen showed data about different species and their activities. But the screens that should show information about humans were completely black. Murdoch was from a species called the Watchers. His people had evolved to gather and process information. They had 4 eyes that could see different types of light. Their brains could remember millions of facts at once. For 200 years, the Watchers had been the intelligence service. For the Galactic Council, they knew everything about everyone. Except now they knew nothing about humans. Show me the Sol system data again, Mirdak said to his assistant. The main screen flickered to life. It showed a map of the area around Earth's sun. Red dots marked the positions of council monitoring stations. Green lines showed normal communication channels. Everything looked normal except for one problem. There was no information coming from any human source. No transmissions in or out for 91 days, his assistant reported. The human embassy compound is sealed. Automated systems repeat the same message about Earth no longer recognizing council authority. Mirdak clicked his claws on his desk. This was not how things were supposed to work. When species got angry with the council, they usually sent lots of angry messages. They complained and argued and demanded meetings. They did not just disappear completely. What about their trade ships, he asked. All human merchant vessels returned to Earth space 60 days ago, the assistant said. No human trader has been seen at any council port since then. This was getting worse. Human traders were everywhere in the galaxy. They sold goods that other species could not make. They carried messages between distant worlds. They fixed things that were broken. Mirdak had not realized how much the galaxy depended on human merchants until they were gone. Research stations? He asked. All joint. Projects with human scientists have been abandoned. The humans took their equipment and left. They did not say where they were going. Mirdak felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Humans were some of the best scientists in the galaxy. They had helped develop new medicines and technologies. They had shared their knowledge freely with other species. Now that knowledge was locked, away behind the borders of human space. Military cooperation? He asked, even though he did not want to know the answer. All mutual defense pacts have been terminated. Human military advisors have returned home. Human ships no longer respond to distress calls from council vessels. The cold feeling in Mirdak's stomach got worse. Human military advisors had been training council forces for decades. They had taught new fighting techniques and strategies. They had helped plan defenses for important worlds. Without them, many council military units were like children trying to use weapons they did not understand. Mirdak walked to the window of his office. Outside, he could see the busy docks of the council station. Ships from hundreds of different worlds came and went, every day. But he noticed something wrong. The docks looked less busy than they used to. Many of the ships he saw were smaller. They carried fewer goods. The huge human freight haulers that used to bring supplies from Earth were nowhere to be seen. What about the communication relays? He asked. His assistant looked uncomfortable. The humans have shut down all their relay stations. Communication between the rim worlds and the core systems is now taking 3 times longer. Mirdak closed his eyes. The human communication network had connected half the galaxy. Messages that used to take days to deliver now took weeks. Business deals were falling through because people could not talk to each other quickly enough. Emergency calls for help were arriving too late to do any good. Chancellor Vexithera had called this meeting to discuss the human situation. She sat at the head of a long table in the council's private meeting room. Only the most important members were present. 12 species that made the real decisions for the galaxy. They all looked worried. We expected angry messages, Chancellor Vexithera said. We prepared responses to their complaints. Instead, we get nothing but silence. Perhaps they are planning something, suggested Councillor Brock from the War Ministry. Brock looked like a giant red crab with too many legs. His species believed that every problem could be solved with bigger weapons. We should prepare our fleets for possible attack. Attack with what? Asked Councillor Fendar from the Economic Council. Our intelligence shows they have been developing new technologies. Energy readings from the Sol system suggest massive construction projects, but we have no idea what they are building. Mirdak cleared his throat. I have more disturbing news, he said. Our monitoring stations near human space have been disappearing. The room went quiet. Even Brock stopped clicking his claws. Disappearing how? Chancellor Vexithera asked. They simply stopped transmitting, Mirdak replied. When we send ships to investigate, we find empty space. No wreckage. No sign of what happened. The stations are just gone. How many? Fendar asked. 17. So far, Mirdak said. all within 50 light-years of the Sol system. Chancellor Vexithera looked sick. The monitoring stations were huge structures built into asteroids. They had shields and weapons for protection. Making them disappear without leaving any trace would require incredibly advanced technology. "What about our agents inside human space?" she asked. "We had no agents inside human space," Murdoch admitted. "We never thought we needed them. The humans always told us everything we wanted to know." The silence in the room was heavy. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been used to knowing everything about everyone. They had spies and informants everywhere. But they had never bothered to spy on humans because humans had always been so open and helpful. "There is something else," Murdoch continued. "Other species are starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" Chancellor Vexithera asked. "They want to know why we quarantined the humans. They are asking if we have the right to trap an entire species in their home system. Some of them are suggesting that our treatment of humans was unfair." Brock made an angry clicking sound. "Ungrateful species," he said. "We protect them from the dangerous humans and they complain about it." "The protection argument is becoming harder to make," Vendar said quietly. "Pirate attacks have increased by 300% since the humans withdrew. The trade routes they use to patrol are becoming too dangerous to use." Chancellor Vexithera looked around the table. She could see doubt in the faces of the other counselors. When they had voted to quarantine the Sol system, it had seemed like a smart idea. Humans were aggressive and unpredictable. Keeping them contained would make the galaxy safer and more peaceful. Instead, the galaxy was becoming more dangerous every day. Without human patrols, the pirates grew bold. Without human traders, the economy was slowing down. Without human scientists, new research projects were falling behind schedule. "Perhaps we should try to contact them," suggested Counselor Yith from the Diplomatic Corps. Yith looked like a tall blue plant with flowers for a head. Her species were natural peacekeepers. "We could explain that the quarantine was for their own protection." "We have tried," Murdoch said. "All communication attempts are blocked by automated systems. The messages just repeat that Earth no longer engages in galactic politics." "Even through back channels?" Yith asked. "Even the Centauri Republic cannot contact them," Murdoch replied. "Ambassador Park Soo-Jin has requested emergency meetings with Earth. She is told that Earth no longer maintains diplomatic relations with any council species." This was the most shocking news yet. The Centauri had been allies with humans for 300 years. They had fought wars together. They had shared colonies and technologies. If the humans would not even talk to their oldest friends, then the situation was much worse than anyone had thought. Chancellor Vexithara stood up from the table. "Continue monitoring the situation," she said. "Report any new developments immediately." The counselors filed out of the room. Murdoch stayed behind. He looked at his datapad, which showed the latest reports from across the galaxy. Shipping delays were causing food shortages on 12 worlds. The hegemony of Kreltar was testing Council defenses along 3 different borders. Several minor species were openly questioning Council authority. The humans had been gone for only 3 months, but already the galaxy was starting to fall apart without them. The worst part was that no one at the Council seemed to understand how much they had depended on human help until it was gone. Murdoch walked back to his office and looked at the screens showing the Sol system. Still nothing but silence from human space. No communications. No ship movements that they could detect. No response to any attempt at contact. The humans had simply vanished from galactic affairs as if they had never existed. But their absence was felt everywhere. Like a hole cut out of the fabric of space itself, and every day the hole was getting bigger. Captain Thekvar guided his patrol ship through the wreckage field with growing confusion. His crew had been expecting to find another pirate attack on merchant vessels. Instead, they found something that made no sense at all. Floating in space, around them were the remains of the most feared pirate fleet in the galaxy. The Black Talon pirates had terrorized the Outer Rim for 15 years. They had the fastest ships and the deadliest weapons. Council forces had tried to stop them dozens of times, but always failed. The pirates knew every hiding spot and escape route in this part of space. They had never lost a major battle, Now their entire fleet was dead metal drifting in the void. "How many ships?" Tekvar asked his scanner operator. 43 confirmed. "Rex," came the reply. "That appears to be their entire fleet, including the flagship Death's Edge." Tekvar studied the debris through his ship's main viewer. Something was wrong with this picture. The damage patterns did not match any weapons he knew about. The pirate ships had not been blown apart by missiles or burned through by energy beams. They looked like they had been twisted and crushed by some invisible force. "Time of destruction?" he asked. "Scanner analysis suggests 4 months ago," the operator said. "Right around the time the humans withdrew from Council space." Tekvar felt a chill run down his spine. 4 months ago was when the humans had walked out of the Galactic Council and disappeared behind their borders. It was also apparently when someone had completely destroyed the most dangerous pirate fleet in known space. "Are there any survivors?" he asked. "No life signs detected. But Captain, there is something else you should see." The main screen changed to show a close view of the pirate flagship. The massive ship had been cut cleanly in half, but there were no burn marks or explosion damage. It looked like someone had used a giant invisible sword to slice through the hull. What kind of weapon could do that? Tekvar wondered out loud. "Unknown, Captain. There are no records of any technology that could cause this type of damage." Tekvar ordered his crew to collect debris samples for analysis. As they worked, he thought about the timing. The Black Talon pirates had been getting bolder in recent months. They had started attacking larger convoys and striking deeper into Council territory. Everyone assumed they were taking advantage of reduced patrol coverage after the humans left. But what if they had tried to attack human targets? What if they had made the mistake of threatening human ships or colonies? The humans had always been peaceful in their dealings with the Council, but they had also always been very clear that they would defend themselves if attacked. "Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission from Council intelligence," his communications officer reported. "Put it through," Tekvar ordered. The face of Councillor Merdak appeared on the screen. The intelligence chief looked even more worried than usual. "Captain Tekvar, I need you to secure that area immediately. No one else is to enter the wreckage field until our investigation team arrives." "Understood. Counselor, should I report what we found to Fleet Command?" "Absolutely not," Merdak said quickly. "This information is classified at the highest level. You and your crew will sign security oaths before you return to base." The transmission ended, leaving Tekvar staring at empty space. In 30 years of military service, he had never been ordered to keep wreckage discovery secret. The Council wanted to hide what had happened here. But why? 3 days later, Ambassador Park Soo-jin of the Centauri Republic sat in her private office reading intelligence reports that made her stomach hurt. As humanity's oldest allies, the Centauri had better information about human activities than anyone else in the galaxy. What she was learning scared her more than any war. The reports came from Centauri merchants who traded near the borders of human space. They told stories that sounded impossible. Human ships that appeared and disappeared without using known hyperspace routes. Energy readings that suggested massive construction projects throughout the Sol system. Most disturbing of all were the rumors about human military technology. "They are building something big," her intelligence chief reported. "Our long-range sensors detect industrial activity on a scale never seen before. Entire asteroids are being moved and processed. The energy output from the Sol system has increased by 500%. Park Soo-jin rubbed her temples. She had tried dozens of times to contact her human friends through diplomatic channels. Every attempt was politely but firmly rejected. The automated responses always said the same thing. Earth no longer engaged in galactic politics. "What about unofficial contacts?" she asked. "Also blocked. Even our intelligence assets who have worked with humans for decades cannot get through. It is as if they have completely cut themselves off from the outside universe." This was not like the humans she knew. They were social creatures who loved to talk and share ideas. They made friends easily and maintained those friendships across decades. For them to suddenly stop all contact with everyone, including their closest allies, suggested something major had changed. "There is something else," her intelligence chief continued. The hegemony of Kreltar has been probing our border defenses. They seem to think the humans will not intervene if they start another. Or Park Soo-jin felt a spike of fear. For 200 years, the implicit threat of human military intervention had kept the hegemony in check. The warrior species respected strength above all else. They knew that attacking Centauri worlds would bring human fleets to defend their allies, but now the humans were gone. If the hegemony believed they could expand their territory without facing human opposition, then war was inevitable. "Double our patrol coverage along the border," she ordered, "and send another message to Earth requesting emergency talks." "Yes, Ambassador. Though I should mention that this will be our 43rd attempt." Meanwhile, in a secret facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Dr. Bae Hyo-jin, monitored communications from across the galaxy. Her job was to listen to everything the other species were saying and report back to Earth's government. What she heard was not surprising, but it was satisfying. "Galactic shipping is down 38%, she reported to her supervisor, via secure channel. "The Council's economy is contracting faster than predicted. Several member species are openly questioning Council leadership. The massive listening arrays around her station could intercept communications from halfway across the galaxy. Since Earth's withdrawal, she had been tracking the growing chaos that followed their absence. Every day brought new reports of problems the Council could not handle without human help. "Pirates?" her supervisor asked. "Attacks are up 400%. The Council Navy is spread too thin to provide adequate protection. They are losing control of the major trade routes." Dr. Bae pulled up a holographic display showing pirate activity across the galaxy. Red dots marked recent attacks. 3 months ago, most of the space lanes had been green, indicating safe travel. Now, huge areas were red warning zones that merchant ships avoided. "The Council military response has been completely inadequate," she continued. "They are using outdated tactics and poor coordination. Without human military advisors, they seem unable to adapt to changing threats." This was exactly what Earth's leaders had predicted. The Galactic Council had become dependent on human support in ways they did not even realize. Human traders kept the economy running smoothly. Human scientists drove technological advancement. Human military experts provided the knowledge and skills that kept the peace. Take away the humans and the entire system started to collapse. "What about the hegemony?" her supervisor asked. "They have begun testing Council defenses along multiple fronts. Intelligence intercepts suggest they are planning major military action within the next 6 months." Dr. Bae switched the display to show hegemony fleet movements. The warrior species had been gathering ships and supplies near several border systems. They were clearly preparing for war but trying to hide their intentions from Council intelligence. "The Council seems unaware of the threat," she reported. "Their intelligence network has serious gaps without human input. They are missing obvious signs of hegemony military buildup." "And the Centauri?" "Ambassador Park Soo-jin has been trying desperately to contact Earth. She seems to understand that something major is coming, but her requests are being handled according to protocol. No exceptions." Dr. Bae felt a little sorry for the Centauri ambassador. The woman had been a friend to humanity for decades, but Earth's leaders had made their decision. No contact with any Council species meant no exceptions even for allies. "There is one more thing," Dr. Bae said. "Several minor species have begun sending unofficial messages to Earth. They are asking if we would be willing to discuss separate trade agreements outside of Council authority." This was interesting news. The minor species had always been ignored by the major powers in the Council. They provided raw materials and bought finished goods but had no real political influence. If they were willing to break with the Council to restore trade with Earth, it suggested the economic situation was worse than expected. "Forward those requests to the diplomatic committee," her supervisor ordered. "They may be useful later." As Dr. Bae ended the call, she looked out at the busy activity around Europa Station. Hundreds of human ships moved between the outer planets of the Sol system. They were carrying materials and equipment for construction project. General Han Soo-young stood in the war room deep beneath the Swiss mountains, looking at displays that showed a galaxy in chaos. 6 months had passed since Earth withdrew from galactic politics. In that time, everything the Council had built over centuries was falling apart piece by piece. Galactic shipping has decreased by 42%, reported Colonel Oye Jin from her position at the intelligence station. The Council's gross domestic product has dropped by 27%. 4 member species have declared independence and 21 others are considering it. Han Su-young nodded grimly. These numbers matched their predictions exactly. The Galactic Council had been like a house built on foundations of sand. Remove the human support that held everything together, and the whole structure would collapse. Military situation? He asked. The hegemony of Kreltar has taken 6-star systems in the past month, Oyejin replied. Council forces are retreating on all fronts. They estimate they will lose control of the Nexus Prime junction within 72 hours. This was the news Han Su-young had been dreading. Nexus Prime was the most important hyperspace junction in the galaxy. Control those routes and you could dominate trade and military movement across half of known space. If the hegemony took Nexus Prime, they would become the dominant power in the galaxy within a year. What about our fleet readiness? He asked. All ships are at full combat status, reported Admiral Ko Sung-min via holographic projection from his flagship. The new technologies have been tested and proven effective. We could deploy to any system in the galaxy within 6 hours. Han Su-young studied the tactical display showing hegemony and Council fleet positions around Nexus Prime. The Council had gathered every available ship for a desperate last stand. But they were outnumbered 3-1 and using outdated tactics that had not worked in decades. How long can they hold? He asked. Intelligence estimates they have 12 hours before complete collapse, Oyejin said. The hegemony is using coordinated assault patterns that the Council has never seen before. Without human military advisors, they have no idea how to counter them. In another part of the room, President Nam Seok-ho watched the same displays with growing concern. His decision to withdraw from galactic affairs had been intended to teach the Council a lesson about treating humans with respect. But the lesson was turning into a catastrophe that could destroy galactic civilization. Options? He asked his advisory council. We could remain neutral, suggested Dr. Song Mi-young, his chief science advisor. Let them destroy each other and pick up the pieces afterward. Earth would emerge as the dominant power by default. That would mean billions of deaths, Nam Seok-ho replied. I did not withdraw from the council to become responsible for genocide. The alternative is revealing our new capabilities, warned Director Yoon Hee-jin from Earth Intelligence. Once we show what we have built, the galaxy will never be the same. There will be no going back to the old relationships. Nam Seok-ho understood the implications. For 6 months, Earth had been developing technologies in secret. Quantum displacement, drives that made hyperspace routes obsolete, energy shields that could protect entire planets, weapons that could destroy fleets without leaving wreckage. If they revealed these capabilities now, they would change the balance of power forever. Sir, we are receiving an emergency transmission, reported the communications officer. It is coming from Ambassador Park Soo-jin of the Centauri Republic. Put it through, Nam Seok-ho ordered. The holographic display showed the Centauri ambassador in what appeared to be a military command center. Emergency lights flashed behind her and alarm sounds could be heard in the background. President Nam, I know you have sworn not to engage with council species, Park Soo-jin said quickly. But I am not speaking as a council member. I am speaking as someone who has called humans friends for 300 years. The hegemony fleet will reach Nexus Prime in 8 hours. If they take that system, they will control half the galaxy. Billions of innocent beings will die or become slaves. Nam Seok-ho felt the weight of decision pressing down on him. Park Soo-jin was right. The hegemony did not just conquer territory. They enslaved entire populations and strip-mined planets until nothing was left. If they won this war, the galaxy would become a much darker place. The council brought this on themselves, he said finally. They chose to quarantine humanity rather than treat us as equals. Why should we save them from the consequences of their own actions? Because you are better than they are, Park Soo-jin replied. That has always been what made humans special. You helped others even when they did not deserve it. You protected the weak even when there was no benefit to yourselves. Please do not let the Council's mistakes turn you into something you are not. The transmission ended, leaving Nam Seok Ho staring at empty air. Around the war room, his advisors waited for his decision. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. Whatever choice he made would affect billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. Admiral Ko, he said finally, how quickly can we reach Nexus Prime? 4 hours using quantum displacement, Ko Sung-min replied. But sir, if we intervene, there will be no hiding our new capabilities. The entire galaxy will know what we have been building. I understand, Nam Seok Ho said, but I did not become president to watch galactic civilization collapse because of wounded pride. Implement Operation Boomerang. General Han Soo-young felt a surge of excitement mixed with dread. Operation Boomerang was the plan for re-entering galactic affairs with overwhelming force. It would announce to the universe that Earth was no longer asking for permission to exist. They were taking their rightful place as a galactic power. All fleet commanders. This is Admiral Ko, came the announcement over military channels. Operation Boomerang is now active. All ships proceed to jump coordinates and await final orders. Across the Sol system, hundreds of ships began moving toward designated positions. These were not the vessels the Council remembered from 6 months ago. The new Earth fleet used technologies that pushed the boundaries of known science. Ships that could appear and disappear at will. Weapons that could destroy targets light years away. Defenses that could stop anything the galaxy could throw at them. Commander Yu Jae-sung watched from the bridge of his stealth cruiser as the Nexus Prime battle unfolded on his tactical display. The Council forces were fighting bravely, but they were clearly losing. Their ships exploded one after another under the coordinated assault of the Hegemony fleet. Sir, the flagship of the Council task force is requesting immediate assistance, reported his communications officer. They are taking heavy damage and cannot hold position much longer. Maintain stealth, Yu ordered. We wait for Admiral Ko's signal. It was painful to watch the slaughter knowing they could stop it immediately, but the timing had to be perfect. Earth's return to galactic affairs would be a shock that changed everything. They needed maximum impact to ensure the lesson was learned by everyone. On the surface of Nexus Prime, civilians ran for shelter as burning ships fell from orbit. The planet's defensive batteries had been overwhelmed hours ago. Now there was nothing between the population and Hegemony invasion forces except a few battered Council vessels that could not last much longer. Sir, I am picking up massive energy signatures, Yu's scanner operator reported suddenly. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Council reinforcements? Yu asked. Negative, sir. These signatures do not match any known Council vessel types. The tactical display updated to show dozens of new contacts appearing throughout the Nexus Prime system, but these ships had not arrived using conventional hyperspace travel. They had simply materialized exactly where they wanted to be, using quantum displacement technology. All Hegemony vessels, this is Admiral Ko Sung-min of the Earth Defense Fleet, came a broadcast on all military frequencies. You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system. You have 30 seconds to comply. The response from the Hegemony was predictable. Their warrior culture did not recognize surrender as an option. Instead of withdrawing, they turned their massive fleet toward the new arrivals and prepared to attack. Time's up, Admiral Ko announced calmly. What happened next lasted exactly 12 minutes and 47 seconds. The Earth fleet demonstrated technologies that had been theoretical dreams just months before. Quantum torpedoes that could phase through shields and armor. Displacement beams that could teleport enemy ships into the heart of stars. Energy weapons that struck with the force of supernovas. The Hegemony fleet did not just lose the battle. It ceased to exist as if it had never been there at all. Hundreds of warships that had terrorized the galaxy for decades were reduced to scattered atoms drifting in space. When it was over, Admiral Ko's face appeared on every screen in the Nexus Prime system. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed technology that looked like magic to anyone watching. People of the galaxy, he said. Earth returns to galactic affairs. But not as we were before. We are no longer requesting membership in anyone's council. We are offering something better. President Nam Seok-ho stood on the observation deck of the new Terran Alliance headquarters, watching ships from dozens of worlds dock at the massive station. Just 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Nexus Prime, but already the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had imagined possible. The space station itself was a marvel of human engineering enhanced by 6 months of unrestricted research and development. It was 10 times larger than the old Galactic Council station, and used technologies that seemed like magic to most species. Quantum displacement docks allowed ships to arrive instantly from anywhere in the galaxy. Energy shields protected the entire structure from any weapon known to exist. Most impressive of all was the artificial gravity system that could accommodate the needs of hundreds of different alien body types simultaneously. The Centauri Republic has officially joined, reported Ambassador Kim Tae-ho as he approached with his daily briefing. The same man who had been humiliated at the council was now serving as Earth's primary diplomat to the new alliance. Ambassador Park Soo-jin signed the membership treaty an hour ago. Nam Seok-ho nodded with satisfaction. Having the Centauri as the first official members gave the alliance immediate credibility. Their 300-year friendship with humanity was well known throughout the galaxy. Other species would see that humans valued loyalty and treated their allies with respect. How many applications total? Nam asked. 73 species have submitted formal membership requests, Kim Tae-ho replied. Another 140 have opened diplomatic channels requesting information about alliance policies. The numbers were staggering. In 3 weeks, more species had asked to join the Terran Alliance than had joined the Galactic Council in the past century. The difference was simple. The Alliance offered equal membership to all species regardless of size or technological development. Every member had voting rights based on population and contribution rather than ancient treaties or political influence. Whating? About the Council? Nam asked. Chancellor Vexithara has requested a private meeting, Kim Tae-ho said carefully. She claims to represent a faction within the Council that wants to negotiate a merger between our organizations. Nam Seok-ho almost laughed. 6 months ago, the Council had tried to quarantine humanity in their home system like dangerous animals. Now they wanted to negotiate as equals. The irony was not lost on him. Schedule the meeting, he decided, but make it clear that any negotiations will be conducted according to Alliance principles. No special privileges for former Council leadership. Captain Lee Da-bin approached from the military section of the observation deck. She now wore the insignia of Alliance Fleet Command and carried herself with the confidence of someone who had helped reshape galactic politics through superior firepower. Admiral Ko reports that all hegemony holdout fleets have surrendered, she said. The warrior species has formally requested terms for peace negotiations. This was perhaps the most remarkable development of all. The hegemony had never surrendered to anyone in their entire history. Their culture was built around conquest and domination, but after watching their most powerful fleet vanish without a trace at Nexus Prime, they had quickly reconsidered their priorities. What terms are they offering? Nam asked. Complete withdrawal from all occupied territories, Lee Da-bin replied. Payment of reparations to displaced populations. Restructuring of their government to eliminate the warrior caste system. In exchange, they want alliance protection from other species seeking revenge. Nam Seok-ho considered this carefully. The hegemony had committed terrible crimes over the centuries, but the alliance was supposed to represent a better way of doing things. Endless cycles of revenge would not build a stable galactic civilization. Offer them probationary membership, he decided. Full alliance protection in exchange for complete disarmament and mandatory cultural exchange programs. If they can prove they have changed their ways over the next decade, we will consider upgrading them to full membership status. Lee Da-bin looked surprised but nodded her agreement. This was exactly the kind of decision that separated the alliance from the old council. Instead of simply punishing their enemies, they were offering them a chance to become better. Sir, we have an incoming priority transmission from Dr. Choi Yun-seo on Titan, reported the communications officer. The holographic display activated to show the brilliant scientist in her laboratory. Behind her, massive quantum computers processed calculations that would have taken the old council's best systems years to complete. Dr. Choi had used the freedom from council oversight committees to make breakthrough discoveries in physics that were revolutionizing technology across human space. President Nam, I have completed the analysis you requested, she said excitedly. The quantum displacement network can be expanded to cover the entire galaxy within 18 months. Every Alliance world would be able to communicate and travel instantly to any other Alliance world. This was the technology that would make the Alliance truly revolutionary. Instead of depending on hyperspace routes controlled by whoever held key junction points, every member species would have direct access to the entire galactic community. No more choke points that could be used to strangle trade or communication. No more remote worlds cut off from galactic civilization. What about the power requirements? Nam asked. The new fusion reactors using hegemony heavy elements can provide sufficient energy, Dr. Choi replied. Ironically, their conquest of mineral-rich worlds has given us exactly the resources we need to build a better galaxy. Nam Seok-ho smiled at the poetic justice. The hegemony's greed had provided the materials that would eliminate the strategic advantages that made conquest profitable. In the new galaxy, no one would be able to dominate others by controlling vital resources or transportation routes. Begin construction immediately, he ordered. But remember that safety is our top priority. We will not rush deployment and risk accidents that could harm Alliance worlds. As the transmission ended, Nam Seok-ho reflected on how much had changed in just 6 months. When Earth withdrew from the Galactic Council, he had hoped to teach them a lesson about treating humans with respect. He had never imagined that the lesson would result in the collapse of the old galactic order and its replacement with something entirely new. Colonel Park Jin-ho approached with the daily military briefing. The young officer had been promoted to serve as Alliance military coordinator and was responsible for integrating the armed forces of dozens of different species into a coherent defense organization. Integration training is proceeding ahead of schedule, he reported. The Centauri have provided 30 experienced fleet commanders to serve as liaisons. Several minor species have contributed specialized technologies that complement human systems perfectly. This was another advantage of the Alliance approach. Instead of forcing everyone to use the same equipment and tactics, they encouraged each species to contribute their unique strengths. Centauri energy weapons combined with human quantum shields. Aquatic species providing underwater combat expertise. Silicon-based life forms offering mining and construction capabilities that no organic species could match. Any problems with command integration? Nam asked. Some cultural misunderstandings, but nothing serious, Park Jin-ho replied. The universal translator systems Dr. Bay developed are working perfectly. More importantly, the shared training exercises are building real friendships between species that barely knew each other existed. This was perhaps the most important aspect of Alliance success. The old council had been built on hierarchies and exclusion. Species were ranked by importance and power, with the major civilizations making decisions for everyone else. The Alliance was built on cooperation and inclusion, with every member having a voice in shaping their common future. Sir, we are receiving a broad-spectrum transmission from the Outer Rim territories, the communications officer announced. Multiple species are reporting that pirate activity has completely ceased in their regions. Nam Seok-ho was not surprised by this news. One of the Alliance's first acts had been to deploy quantum-enhanced patrol ships throughout the galaxy. These vessels could respond to distress calls instantly and carried weapons that made pirate attacks suicide missions. After losing a few fleets to Alliance patrols, the remaining pirates had quickly found other career paths. Economic impact? He asked. Trade volume is up 60% in formerly dangerous regions, reported Dr. Song Mi-young via hologram from the Economic Analysis Center. Species that have been isolated for decades are suddenly able to participate in galactic commerce. The Alliance gross domestic product is growing faster than our models can track. This was the real victory. Not the military defeat of the hegemony or the diplomatic collapse of the Council, but the simple fact that billions of beings across the galaxy were living better lives because of Alliance policies. Fear of pirate attack no longer kept merchants from distant worlds. Small species no longer had to accept unfair trade deals from major powers. Knowledge and technology flowed freely between civilizations that wanted to learn from each other. Time frame for full galactic coverage? Nam asked. Kanaring. Current expansion rates, we estimate 18 months for complete alliance membership integration, Dr. Song replied.